Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about Rudy Giuliani's continued flailing on what seems to be the very last steps of a long road that he has forced Georgia election workers Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss to walk to try to get the money that he owes them by virtue of having defamed them. Recall just after the 2020 election, he goes down to Georgia and cooks up a whole bunch of malarkey. Do you cook malarkey? I don't think so, but you get the idea. About their malfeasance, shows a grainy picture of a suitcase that he says is stuffed with ballots they are, taking away, and makes their lives, and we've seen their testimony, really miserable. The Trump faithful pounce on them in force, and they, basically can barely be in public for months, and it's just a terrible mess, and a completely avoidable one is just Giuliani making up crap to try to affect the election down in Georgia, the famous I just need 11,980 votes state. Okay, so basically the whole several years has just been a matter of the former upholder of the laws, the U.S. attorney, bobbing and weaving and hiding out and head in the sand and running away and saying the dog ate it, and then going over and hiding behind this and hiding behind that. And eventually he files for bankruptcy, and there's all these back and forth in bankruptcy, Chapter 11, Chapter 7, and eventually he's clobbered all the way through. In fact, he basically never complies with discovery, never gives the money that he owes, and based on that, the judge eventually lowers the boom, even though it's clear. He goes into bankruptcy, which is a way to protect your assets, but in his case, he continues to be non-cooperative and intransigent, and finally, the plaintiffs, who are owed a big chunk of the few $1 million he has, say this bankruptcy is a charade, let's dissolve it, and we're just going to go at him in a way that bankruptcy normally would protect. He's got apartments, he's got property, and we're going to go get our judgment, thank you judge, and go from state to state and say, here's our judgment, please go to Mr. Giuliani's apartment and padlock it and have a sheriff's sale, get whatever money you can from it and turn it over to us. That is basically where we are now in the long-standing efforts to get justice at the hands of a completely resistant and dishonestly so, completely throwing up every kind of roadblock and sand in the court's eyes and in Freeman and Moss's eyes. So now we're at an end game where in the Southern District of New York, where one of the properties are, there's a motion to enforce the judgment finally against Giuliani, and this is his latest. He's saying, please don't enforce the judgment, not yet. Okay, why not? Well, there's a code section that says you don't have to. You have discretion to craft flexible and equitable responses to claims. Now, there's a large element of New York chutzpah in making this argument because it's exactly his flexibility in stretching every direction to get out of paying that has them finally at the end game. But he says, look, you have broad discretionary power and this would be prejudicial. And then in this short and not very persuasive, he seems to have zero money left to pay lawyers. His main creditors after Moss and Freeman are his lawyers that he hasn't paid. But he says, look, let me at least isolate some property and please don't cut me some breaks here for no reason at all. But they've said there's this big condominium that he lives in Florida. Maybe his primary, New York maybe his primary. But hey, this is a a separate action. Yes, they've gone down there and said, also give us this property. So I'm going to file papers soon there. Don't do anything until let that go according to the process down there. Then the other biggest one, the New York co-op, worth some millions. For many months, stretching back to the bankruptcy case, defendant has trying to sell the apartment. What that means exactly and how pervasive and creditable those efforts are to actually sell are very dubious, because it can take years to sell a New York luxury apartment. Well, look, the bankruptcy court authorized, when he was under the bankruptcy court, the defendant to retain Sotheby's as a real estate broker. He's retained a real estate broker, so you know how earnest he is. They're saying they've had enough. Don't leave it to him. He might have had an incentive to maximize sale price. Sometimes a court will say, Giuliani, you're going to get more out of it. You do it, but do it now and give the money to the plaintiffs. But he's just, dragging his feet is a understatement. He's dragging his ankles because the feet are all the way embedded in the mud. Moreover, he's saying, I'm going to get this back anyway, because one of the judgments that have gone basically around the country where they've given this to the plaintiffs is going to get reversed because it's really my primary residence, and that's going to come back. And so it doesn't, we should hold off on there because I'm going to get it reversed. With that kind of argument, of course, you would never go forward. Here's the most interesting is he's saying, I've got an asset. It's my claim against the Trump campaign that has never paid me. And recall, it's been revealed just recently, just as they were putting, Team Crazy together with Giuliani at the helm, one of the, lawyers in the White House said, well, the arrangement is Giuliani only gets paid if he wins. And they jocularly say, well, he's not going to get paid then. But that's, he didn't in fact get paid, and he sued them. Everyone's suing everybody. And what's his argument here? Another big, scoop of New York chutzpah. Don't, let this go past and give this claim to the plaintiffs as their property before the election, because they may use it for an improper political purpose and create confusion and an appearance that it's Giuliani who's suing Trump rather than plaintiffs who are suing Trump. So part and parcel of the kinds of arguments Trump's been making, you can't do anything that would confuse the electorate or would disparage Trump before the election. Giuliani is trying to now cloak himself in and say, don't let something go forward that could be misconstrued as an effort by Giuliani to sue Trump. And that's the big novel claim. He's also saying there are categories for, really strapped defendants to retain unique personal property. The wristwatch that he was given by the president of France after 9/11, and likewise a category for family memorabilia. And the argument there is he's going to want to make a lot of things fit into those categories, and the plaintiffs are saying, no, we've done this already, we're going after this, and the argument is going to be how broadly can Giuliani construe, how narrowly can the plaintiffs construe. Giuliani said, appoint a special master, please, to figure that out in this motion. And of course, more time, more delay, more frustration for Moss and Freeman. But basically, I've thrown around a lot of analogies. It's a little bit, for those who remember, like Monty Python, the Holy Grail, and the mere flesh wound as, limbs are lopped off. There's just not much room for Giuliani to operate. He's on the very, very last moves, and even then is saying, exercise your discretion to cut me some more final breaks. Don't think you will encounter a sympathetic court there. And while it's probably scant solace to Moss and Freeman, who've been having to chase him all over the country, it's really hard to conceive of how he can draw this out much longer. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.